Hello, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond. My name is Taylor, and welcome to Spirittea, a brand new little indie game that just dropped on Xbox Game Pass and most other PC platforms. Now, Spirittea sells for $23.49 Canadian, or your regional equivalent, which I would assume is about $20 US, though I could be a little off on that conversion rate. Now, I really wanted to name this video, or rather title this video, Stardew Valley meets Studio Ghibli, or Stardew Valley meets Spirited Away, because there are definitely clear inspirations from Studio Ghibli and Spirited Away, but this game is not as close to Stardew Valley as I had originally believed it was. Now, it is still a great game in my opinion, but it's definitely not the Stardew Valley clone that I was expecting going into it. So, to actually get into what this game is, it is very much a social and business simulator. It is more of a life simulator, not quite in the immersive sim genre, but much closer to it than something like Stardew Valley. So, to start off the game, you make your character, name them whatever you want, make them look like whatever you want. Your backstory is always going to be a fiction writer as of right now. I don't know if that will change in future, and it hasn't played too much bearing on the story that I have seen, but it might do so later on. I have about an hour, 45 minutes in the game, so I think it's a reasonable amount of time to make a semi-decent review of the game, at least for first impressions. So, once you have made your character and named yourself, you decide which town you're going to go to. Now, I decided to name it Koreatown because I thought it would be funny. I'm going to a clearly Japanese-inspired village where I'm living in Korea. It's like, oh, it'll be Koreatown, like the Korean part of Japan. I was very surprised, needless to say, when I came across individuals with not only Japanese names, but also Korean names, because Japanese names are very much kind of a given name and a family name. It's two names, whereas Korean names are kind of like a 3-syllable affair. So it's blank, blank, blank. Like the name, their given name is usually blank, blank, and then their family name is blank. So it was very interesting to see that pop up with a few of the characters where they had more Korean names, but then you had someone like Clarence, who is very much white. Or you had the priest, whose name is escaping me at the moment, who's very much of African descent, which was really interesting to me. Anyway, we'll get into those guys just a little bit later. After you arrive in town, you're greeted by Miko, who, again, very Japanese name. She shows you around the town, tells you where things are, gets you set up in your house, and then you just go to sleep for the night. You wake up the next day with the goal of meeting people, because that's what you're told to do. Well, first you get a desk so you can do your writing, though I haven't actually done any writing there yet. But this is also where you get your first hint that, there might be some goings-on in the town, so to speak. Moby, at least I think it's Moby, is the guy who helps you put away your desk. And he mentions that he's got roots growing out of his his bathtub. And he's like, that's weird, right? You can just straight up tell him, are you sure you're cleaning it properly? I didn't, just because it felt a little rude. But it's kind of the first hint that, things are not as they seem, so to speak. Anyway, after you put away this desk, the monk brings over one of the dogs, which is just super cute. Oh, and the dog's name is Jan. Like, come on. And he's a sheep with an eye scar. Oh, he's so cute. Anyway, the dogs have an interesting function in this game. So you can pet them, of course, because you have to be able to pet a dog in a game. It is required by law, at least in my head. But this dog and his sister Maru have an interesting function where if you interact with them, because this game actually, when I was playing, didn't require the mouse at all. I only had to use the keyboard. It gets kind of finicky, but we'll deal with that later. Anyway, when you interact with Jan, you can say, help me find, and then you can see a list of all the people living in the town. And then when you select that person, Jan will take you to the building or area that they are in at that moment in time. So it was really handy to be like, okay, take me to this person, and then this person, and then this person. Now, I will say, it definitely felt like a more fleshed out town than Stardew, partly because a lot of people had jobs, a lot of people had, things they were doing on a daily basis, and even that could kind of change every now and then. So it definitely felt like a bit of a larger map, and it felt like there were more people, even though there were only 27, which is technically smaller than the base of Stardew in terms of how many people there are in the game. But with Stardew, it's very much optional. to, meet everyone, to greet everyone, and to be friends with everyone. Whereas in this game, it's like, hey, you need to know where everyone is, say hello to everyone before we can advance the story. So I thought that was a little interesting. And then at the end of all that, you're told to go get some special tea leaves, because this town grows special tea leaves. And I'm sure you've guessed by now, the name of the game is Spirit Tea. I really don't know how to pronounce it other than Spirittea, which makes it sound not like it's spelled. Anyway, you use these special tea leaves, you make this spirit tea, and then you see a cat spirit known as Wanyan. Now, Wanyan is like, hey, you can see me. I'm sorry, what? You can see me? And then proceeds to go, okay, you can see me, you're going to help me, let's go. At which point, he takes you around, he introduces you to the rundown bathhouse that used to be the place for spirits to hang out, cleanse themselves, and kind of hang around, which is a little weird. Like, you would think they kind of cleanse themselves and they move on, very, very spiritual, but no, they just like having a soak. So basically, he's like, you are going to help me, human. We are going to gather up all the spirits from around town, because they're the ones that are causing trouble for the townsfolk. We're going to give them a bath so that they will give us money. He really likes money, and that's okay. So this is where the kind of crux of the game comes in. You are shown around the bathhouse, you're shown how to put firewood into the underbelly, into the furnace, that's the word. You're shown how to clean towels, how to organize everything, and then you go find some spirits. And then you open up the bathhouse for business. So this is really where the core gameplay loop comes in. You open up the bathhouse whenever you choose, then you make sure you have clean towels. If you don't have clean ones, you have to wash them, then dry them, then you can take them to the area where the guests will pick them up. You take the towel from them, and then you walk them to the bath. You select where they go, and then they will be in there for a predetermined amount of time, either gaining or losing happiness. Now, this happiness is affected by who they're sitting next to, and just, how hot the water is, things like that. Because apparently each spirit falls into a specific season of summer, winter, fall, or spring. And spirits that come after one another like each other. For example, winter likes spring, spring likes summer, summer likes fall, fall likes winter. But spirits that are opposite of each other don't like each other. For example, spring and fall don't like one another. So if you put them together, you lose out on happiness and you lose out on money. Because when the spirit is done at the end of their bath, that's when they walk to the front, they drop off their towel in the dirty towel section, and they leave you some money in your collection jar that you have to go and get. Now, there are other mechanics, such as cooking for the spirits, or giving them back massages, or giving them special incense in the water, that I was not able to unlock at the time that I played it, but it was said, like, hey, it will get more complex over time, so you'll be able to earn more money, but they're also going to be dealing with a lot more baths, a lot more types of spirits. And it did look like in the collection section of the start menu, which we'll be getting to later, there was a fair amount there in terms of variety. Not to mention the third spirit unlocked, which was very much a kind of Baba Yaga, elderly woman, tree roots, kind of legs. Very interesting spirit. Took up 9 spaces in the bath. So it was my next goal was to open up a new part of the bathhouse, which I did not get to because I didn't have the resources for. Anyway, it certainly strikes me as a much more mechanically complex game, because that's where its focus is. You're not necessarily farming. There is fishing. There is digging for certain things. So I bought a fishing rod, I bought a shovel. There is even bug catching. But these are all more side mechanics that are also going to play into the social mechanics that we'll get to in just a minute. But the core of the game is to be a Spirited Away simulator. Because Spirited Away focused on a bathhouse where the inhabitants would give the proprietor coins after they enjoyed a lovely, relaxing time. That is exactly what you are doing. The game does limit how much you can do this in a single day by limiting the number of times the root at the base of the bathhouse will regrow itself. The idea is you chop off a section, throw it in the furnace, that section will regrow, chop it, throw it in the furnace, so on and so forth, until it is done regrowing for that day. Now, apparently the rate of regrowth and the number of times it'll regrow increases as you level up, as your spirituality levels up, and you are able to level it up by having the spirits be happier in your bathhouse. So as long as they're put next to the people they like, or sorry, spirits they like, they're given food they like, they're given other things that appease them, you will make tons of money and tons of spirituality. But it definitely is more mechanically complex because it is the main focus of the game. It's not like something, it's not something like Stardew where you're spread out among farming, fishing, caring for animals, mining, doing all of these other things on top of trying to get married, trying to have kids, whether adopt or natural, or doing all that kind of stuff. Or even Fae Farm. Again, you're mining, you're farming, you're logging, you're raising animals, you're bug catching, you're fishing, you're doing so many different things that none of them feel like they're the main focus of the game as an individual. They are a collective whole, a collective goal. Whereas Spirittea is very much you are focused on your bathhouse. Everything else is secondary. But those secondary mechanics, for the most part, in my opinion, are well fleshed out, though some of the mini games I came across I was not a big fan of. So let's actually get into those secondary mechanics. Now, the NPCs seem pretty fleshed out. They all have schedules, they all have jobs, they all have interests. So some of them like singing karaoke, some of them they like going bug catching or fishing or digging up treasure. I didn't interact with too many of them, as in I talked to all of them, but I only talked to a couple of them, more than once, to see if I could raise their social status. I don't know if you're able to get married in this game. I don't think so. This very much to me feels like, hey, make friends around the town and just enjoy working and hang out with friends after work. Like, it very much feels like a more realistic version of this kind of game. Like, you're going to work, even though I guess technically you are getting paid. I don't know where they get the currency. Anyway, you're getting paid to go to work, and then you're hanging out with your friends after work. Now, in line with a added sense of realism, you can go to bed whenever you want and sleep for as long as you want. Now, you do start getting exhausted after 16 hours of being awake, which is, normal. Honestly, I'm usually done after like 12 hours of working, so 16 is more than reasonable. But you also get to dictate how long you sleep for. So after that 16-hour point, you don't just like pass out like you would in, say, Stardew or Fae Farm, especially when it hits midnight. It tells you, hey, it's midnight. But if you haven't been up for 16 hours, you're not exhausted. It goes by how long you've been up and what you want to do. Your stamina bar does kind of go down faster when you're exhausted, and you have to sleep for at least 7 hours to get rid of it. Or rather, to kick it back up to that 16-hour mark. I usually sleep for 8 just because that feels like, 16 hours, 8 hours, that's a full 24. Makes sense to me, but this game does not dictate or kind of control what you do when you do it. Like, I accidentally, and I do mean accidentally, because I went up to one of the NPCs and was like, just chatting with him. And he's like, hey, do you want to hang out? I said, I had the option between like singing and something else. I picked singing, and we went to karaoke. And this is where the first kind of okay minigame came into play. So we went to the karaoke bar, grabbed a table, started, I picked a song, a duet, so I would increase our friendship. And then it was this weird, I'll have it on screen, spiral thing where a whole bunch of symbols were moving and you had to push WASD or C, yes, C as in like carrier, which is just kind of a weird positioning, in time with everything, moving through it, in time with the beat. And it was just a really awkwardly positioned rhythm game that I wasn't used to, especially because I am right-handed, but I'm, pushing WASD and C with my left hand, so I just wasn't as coordinated as I would have liked to be. And if I tried to move my right hand over to cover those same keys, it just would have felt way too awkward. As far as I know, the game does have full controller support based on the control layout, but I don't know how it would work in terms of the karaoke or other minigames. So after a weird experience, honestly, with the karaoke, that was kind of fun. Like, it was okay. My friendship went up with him by like 0.79 or something, which is really weird. I don't know how all the metrics work. I don't know how all the numbers work behind the scenes. I do know in the little like journal that you have of everyone when you go over to your friendships, it's basically like a kind of a gray version of the character's portrait, and then as you become closer friends with them, it fills up with color, which I thought was an interesting idea and really cute. So it definitely has a lot of fleshed out systems for these minigames for making these social relationships. that I thought were really interesting. But the other main game that I tried was fishing, because I had bought a fishing rod with my first day's profits from the bathhouse, and I tried it. It was so confusing. So basically you have to get the hook to point to wherever the fish is on this big wheel of directions. And again, I'll have this on screen, and you have to press E, the interact button, when it is pointed at the fish, and the fish is going to move pretty consistently. But if you're not aimed at the fish, or you don't press it in time, the meter goes down and you're more likely to lose the fish. And it just, I got so confused. And I only did it once because I was like, this is not fun. This is not just like an intuitive system I can wrap my head around. This is very much, I have to think about this a lot. And I was not looking for a game that I have to think about, a game that I have to focus on. Like, at the time of this recording, I have put in 60 hours into Fae Farm. I was not expecting that. I did that because it was relaxing. It was something I could shut my brain off after work. I don't want to have to come home from work and quite literally do an entirely new job on top of that. So I think for me, Spirittea definitely came at the wrong time for just me being able to enjoy it properly. You know, I'm still busy with work. There's a lot of things happening. And I don't want to, again, get off work to go to work in a game. Like, for some people, I totally understand. It's very relaxing. They enjoy the focused nature of everything, and the very much the control they have and how they run their business. They're people who enjoy playing management games, and that's totally fine. I am not one of them. Not to mention the kind of seemingly lack of customization around the house, or like around my property, I guess. You can customize almost everything inside the house in terms of its positioning and like whether or not you show it. I think you can buy artwork to put up, so like there's an element of customization, but not to the level that I was hoping for. And just everything is not bad by any means. The characters, again, are really fleshed out. It's a really interesting system in how you can build your friendships, the bugs you have to collect, the fish you have to collect, all that stuff seems really fleshed out and well done. It's just not my kind of game personally, and that's okay. Speaking of, let's get back to that start menu I mentioned a while ago. First of all, the pause menu is super adorable. Like, what the hell? It's so cute. Between the crane and the Jizo statue, and then the bears. Oh my god, the bears. It goes from the blue scarf to the red scarf, and oh, it's so cute. I love the visuals, and I'm going to get to that kind of near the end because that's just an absolute selling point right there. But when you get into your notebook and like your tourist map, which acts as your kind of like collectibles tracker, there's a lot. Like, there's a good, healthy amount of collectibles, again, between the fishing, the bug hunting, collecting all the spirits, finding secrets around the town. Like, there's a lot to sink your teeth into. And I could easily see someone getting 20, 30 hours out of this game before even completing the main campaign, if there technically is one. So honestly, this game very much is not what I was expecting, and I haven't heard any or seen any marketing around it. I was just like scrolling through Game Pass one day, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, this looks cool, I like this. And I kind of waited for it. I didn't look anything up for it because I wanted to go in relatively blind. And I definitely went in with the wrong idea about what kind of game it was, which is absolutely my fault. There's no question about that. And yes, I was disappointed that it wasn't what I was hoping for, but I was not disappointed with the quality of the game that I got. So, even in spite of me not necessarily appreciating a management game and it not being what I'm looking for, I would absolutely recommend it based on gameplay and price. Like, that is totally reasonable. You can easily get $1 per hour or even more than an hour per dollar if you chose to. Like, if you really delved in, tried to get all achievements, tried to get all collectibles, all that kind of stuff. So from a gameplay perspective, I would absolutely recommend this game. Now, from a visual perspective, if you haven't bought it already, what is wrong with you? If you like Studio Ghibli, that is. Now, evidently, this was very much inspired by Spirited Away in terms of its gameplay style and like what it's going for. But even the character appearances of, as I say, that the Baba Yaga looking spirit, the Wanyan cat kind of looks like the cat bus from My Neighbor Totoro. Like, it's very much inspired by Ghibli's art style, and I think that's awesome because this game looks gorgeous, runs really well, and I love when you're on the map screen how it just kind of like the buildings are kind of bouncing with the music. Oh, it's so cute. This game is just so charming in terms of its visual style, and that's kind of why I held off talking about it, because I just want to gush about how pretty it looks, but I didn't want that to kind of color my opinions of the game, or kind of color your opinions of the game, before I was able to talk about the things that actually mattered in the game, which is the gameplay and how much fun you can have with it. But truly, this game looks gorgeous, runs really well, has a really nice soundtrack. I would honestly recommend the game if this is your style. Like, if you enjoy management sims that are a little more involved, a little more focused, and have you doing something pretty consistently, absolutely go for it. If you're looking for something a little calmer, more Stardew Valley-esque, this might not be what you're looking for right now, and that's totally fine. This game is, again, super well priced at $23.42 Canadian, so whatever your regional equivalent is of about $20 US. It's available on Game Pass. Absolutely check it out there. I will forever shill for Game Pass. But truly, if you want something primarily relaxing, but definitely more involved and not as relaxing as something like Stardew, for me, I want to stress that, by all means pick this game up. I will leave a link to the Steam page in the description down below, and let me know what you think about the game. What are your thoughts looking at the visuals, hearing about the gameplay? Are you going to pick this up? Are you going to play this? Let me know all of that and more down in the comments below. I will make sure to read them all, and please leave any more recommendations for indie titles you want me to check out on this channel. I love indie games because all too often, you get the 5 or 6 that get major spotlights, that get all the attention. Then you have the hundreds that go unnoticed. Some of them, rightfully so. Many of them, though, are definitely diamonds in the rough that need to have a light shined on. With all that being said, thank you, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, so much for listening and for watching. Really appreciate you being here. One more time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!